Oh yeah.
Started the recording as well. So today, first we'll start with the assignment problems and we'll continue the part. Right. So before we start, any questions regarding this? I guess this was not too difficult. Anyone, if you have any questions before we start solution?
Oh, nothing from my end. Oh,
So our first question was to initialize a slice named example slice with integers 1 to 50. Simple, you can either directly create an slice like this, or you can call the make function and then append the values. So both will be fine. Then the next part was to add 60 at the end of the slice. So for that we directly use the append. Like add this 60 to the end of the example slice and then we assign it to the example slice. Okay. Then we had printing the values between 3 to 30 to 70. So for all these questions, if we have used for loop, that is fine. But since we know the values are already sorted like this and we know the values were there, we can directly use like slicing the slice using the indices. So for 30 to 70, our index will start from second element, like 0, 1, 2, the third element, and up to the end of the slice. So this will be the answer. Then for printing values between the 10 to 40, we will start from first. So nothing before the column and up to the fourth index. So the fourth index will be omitted. So 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 3, we will be printing. Then similarly for 20 to 40, we will start from first and until fourth. 4 minus 1, that will be 3 here. Okay. So the number you specify here is like excluded from the range. Then we have just replace the value 20 with 70. So that is just like uh, changing the value at index 1 to 70. Then remove 40 from the slice and print the new slice. So for this, what I've done is I have taken this slice from start to the 30th element, and then I appended the elements after the uh, fourth index. What will happen is like the first part will contain first three values, and then the second part we have done this dot dot dot. So it basically means that each value after fourth element. So you can either use this triple dot operators, or you can manually type in like so. Both will be fine. Uh, then we have loop through the slice using range and print the values. So this is like simple thing. You just call the like in a for loop we call range over this example slice which we define, and then we just print the index and value or just the values if you want. Then we use the built-in copy function to slice the copy in slice copy elements to another slice and print the values. Okay, so actually we haven't taken this copy function. So This copy is like inbuilt for copying with elements between two slices. So the syntax is like the copy inside the first argument is the destination slice where you want to copy the elements, and the second argument will be the source slice. So from where you're copying the elements. So how this works is if your destination has enough elements to copy all the elements from the source slice, it will copy all of them. Or if it is less than the slice, it will copy up to the limit it has. So for example, if we have like 5 elements in our example slice and the length of our new slice is 2, so only the first 2 elements will be copied and the rest will be omitted. So to copy all the elements, what I did is in the make function, I called this length function to get the length of this example slice so that it creates enough space for all the elements to get copied. And then I just call this copy function for new slice as a destination and example slice as a source. Then we have append a slice to existing slice and print both the slices. So you can use the previous slice as well. I just created a new slice, slice 1 with 1, 2, 3 elements. Then I have second slice called slice 2 with 4, 5, 6 elements. And then what I did is in the first slice, I appended the second slice using these 3 dots. So instead of this, you can either like use a for loop, or you can specify individual elements by specifying their indexes. So slice of 0, slice of 1 separated by comma. So all the 3 approaches are fine. So that's it. Like we then this. This is what we initialize. Then after appending 60, this is the value. Then printing values from 30 to 70, 10 to 40, to 20 to 40. These are the then after changing the value of 20 to 70, this output. So second element got changed. Then remove 40 from the slice. So we slice the first to 30 and then from 50 to 60. And then we appended the final to it to a final slice. So this is the output. We removed the middle element. And this was the output for the for loop, like ranging over the slice. Then this was our example slice, and then we copied it to our new slice. So since we passed in the length of the example slice, when we created new slice, all the elements got copied. Then here we are appending slice 2 to slice 1 and then reassigning to slice 1. So new slice becomes the added like containing all the 6 elements. Uh, so like, is there any issue with any of the part, like any substring or this?
No minute.
Then the second part we had for maps. So the first question is create a map of employees which stores employee salary. So basically, you're creating a map of string and an integer. You can use a make function, or you can directly create it in like curly braces and then add the values directly inside this. Okay. So we created using make. Then the second part was to add employee A with salary 10,000 and employee B with 15,000. So like you uh, have the name of the map, and inside the square brackets you pass in the key, and after equal to you pass in the value, right? Then iterate over the map and print the elements. So when you iterate over a map, we get key and a value. We can print both of them. Printed salary of k is v. Then we have Get the salary of employee C from the map. Check if employee C is present and print accordingly. So when you try to get an element value out of a map using any key, so by default it pass like we ignore the second argument it returns. But if you want, you can have it. So this is an optional argument which it returns. Uh, so what this tells is that whether it was able to find this key inside this map. Okay. So, like just don't get confused with this if you haven't seen this kind of syntax. So you can have this statement like so. B comma OK is equal to employee and the name of the key we want, or you can even do that uh, get part of the map inside the if part. Your if allows you to like initialize a variable which you can use inside this if scope. Okay. So if you want to do, you can copy the statement inside the if and follow it by a semicolon. So this statement is like getting the value and the status, like the Boolean operator, whether this key was found or not. And then we are checking OK. So OK is bool, right? So if OK means if OK is true, then we will print salary of employees B, else we will print not found. So we run this. So this is the output of our for loop. Salary of employee A is 10,000 and salary of B employee B is 15,000. Akash, like when did you left?
No, just a couple of seconds back.
Did you miss
You
any
good?
part?
Yeah. No. I already did it. I don't have any doubts.
And this is the output for not for this finding the employee C in the map. So it was not found, that will be printed. Then the third part was Fibonacci series. So the basic objective of this was just to have like function declared and some logic written inside it. So you can follow any approach you want. So what I did was like I created this Fibonacci function and passed in the element of the series which I want to print, and it returns that element as an integer. And inside a for loop, since I wanted to print all the first 10 elements, so I called this for loop from 0 to 9, and then I called this Fibonacci series for ith value. If if the value is less than equal to 1, so it should return the same value, like 0 or 1, it should return same value. And if it is 2 or 2 above 2, it will like execute this block of logic and then it will return the nth element. So whatever approach you followed, if you are getting the answer right, it is fine. These are the first 10 elements for the Fibonacci. Okay, so you don't have any questions or any doubts regarding this takeaway one, right?
No.
So today, before we start with the channels, so yesterday we did like basics of channels. So I got some cases for the channels, which might be useful when you are like code using this in your code. So before that, let's like quickly see file operations, like how do you work with files in Golang, and then we will move on to the channel part. So basically, I created some functions. So to work with files, you will use two packages. One is OS and other is buffer. So buffer is kind of a input output buffer related package. So if you want to read from some say standard error or some file, you might be using buffer package. And string conversion is basically like for converting integer to string or string to integer, but this is optional, right? That is not related to file. Okay. So to open a file, the function we use is os.open or os.open file. So if you use os.open, it will just open the file for read purpose. And if you use this open file, then you can specify what mode you want to open that file for. Okay. So here we are opening it for RD only. So RD is like read only. So this will open a file and give out a IO reader. I don't know why is it not giving the prompt. So os.open file will give you a os.file object and an error. Okay. So if it could not find the file or if something went wrong, you will get an error, or else you will get a os.file object. So this will contain like uh, information related to where the file is stored and how do you like access those elements, the data. So to read the actual contents from the file, you will be creating a scanner to scan the contents of this. For that, we are using a buffer package, and we are using the new scanner function of. So we'll pass that file object here, and we should get a IO reader here, a buffer scanner. Okay. So to scan, basically the scan function. So if it is successful, it will return bool, like. So what we are doing is we are passing it inside for loop. So and like until it is true, like it is scanning a new line, it will go on executing this for loop, and we will get the content using the text function, and we'll just print that text. Okay. So this is like a while loop which we saw in the previous session. So until the scan function is giving like able to read some data from the file, it will return true. And then we can scan each line by line and then print the text. Okay. And if there was any error during the scan like reading process, you can get it using the scanner.err like error function, and then you can log it. So in the last three sessions we were using FMT package to print anything, but we also have an inbuilt package called log. So log is basically used like when you have an actual code, you won't be like printing your debug statements or info statements using FMT. It becomes very difficult to handle those, like to switch them on or off. People basically use log. Log will give you additional like functions like printing the timestamp or the name of the file where the log was printed, or like adding extra information to your log. So similar to like fmt.println, you can also use log.println. So it will just print the text along with some timestamp by default. Then you have this fatal function. Okay. So log.fatal means that something is like really wrong with your code and you should like stop the execution there and then. When you call this log.fatal, it stops the code execution and like your code exits. So this is like you open a file, you create a scanner to read from it, and then you scan it line by line, and then you print it. This is the only thing this function does.
బ్రో ఈ స్కానర్ అనేది ఏ రిటర్న్ టైప్ అయినా ఇస్తుందా?
Sorry.
My bad. Does the scanner return any kind of data type, or it just have to be some kind of a string or something?
Yeah. So when you read from a file, it is usually like UTF characters, right? So
Sorry, what?
file is just like sequence of bytes. So
Yes, yes.
the best possible output you can get is a string from a file.
Okay,
Then you can process it like from string, you can convert it to whatever data type you want, right?
okay, gotcha.
Uh, then to open a file for write, so we have three options. We can use it for write only, or we can open it for append, or if it does not exist, it creates. So we are passing the three flags here. So it will try to find this file name, the file path we are passing, and if it is not able to find, it will try to create it. And if it is created, it will open it in read mode, sorry, write mode. And if it is already present, it will open it in append mode. So these are the three values. If you remove any one, like you can just have it for read only. If it is not able to find the file, it will give an error. Uh, and okay, so to write to a file, we open this file open, we get a file os.file object. So when you like exit this function, you should close this file. Or if this file is kept open, the other function might want to read from the same file and it won't be able to access it since it was not closed properly. Okay, so for this, we will be calling this differ statement uh, called file.close. So this will close the file which we opened in this function. Okay, and why we are using defer is because this should happen after we complete our execution of the. So, so we call this defer function, and then to write something, we can use write string, or there are like write function as well. You can write if you have byte data, you can directly write using write function, or if you have a string, you can use write string function. Okay. So this write string will return two values: the characters, the number of characters printed, and the error if any. Okay, so that's for like
Can you explain that again? What are the two return types? One is
these are the number of characters returned to the file,
okay,
and this is the error while writing to the file. If there is any error while writing to the file, it will return an error here.
okay,
Uh, then similarly, we have like when we create a file, we can also remove a file using like os.remove function. It will just return an error if it is not able to remove. And then if you have like a directory containing multiple files and you want to delete the entire directory including the files, you can call remove all function. Then an optional thing we have is called stat. So stat will return all the information related to the file you are passing to. Okay. So when you call this os.stat function, it will return this os.fileinfo object. So we have following methods for it. So you can get the name of the file, you can get the size of the file, you can get what mode it was opened or like created. You can get the last modified time here. And if the file name or the path you passed is a directory, this will be set to true or it will be false for normal file. And sys will return the internal details about the file, like uh, where it is stored on the disk, I guess, like the memory locations. So this won't be like used more often, but still, I'll just admit that. Okay. So first we call this function to write the file inside our files folder. So we have created a files folder, and this should create a file called file1.txt with this line written inside it. Then we will open it for reading, and we will print the stat for this file. Okay. So if you see, this directory was empty. Now we have the line which we passed in the function written inside this file. Okay. So it was created, and we wrote something inside it. Then you see here we wrote 26 characters to the file. Then we opened the file and we printed the content of it. And these are the stats for the file. So the name of the file is file1.txt. Its size is 26. Uh, then it was opened in read write mode. Then the last modified time is here. It is not directory, so it is false. And this is the system related information. So the creation time, low, high, these are all in nanoseconds from the epoch time, like Unix timestamp.
What is this false thing? IS directory?
It is directory. So if it is a directory, it will return true. So if we passed in just the files as the path inside our stat function, so it will return true for that. Since our file is not a directory, it is returning false.
Okay.
Guys, I think we need to rejoin this call. Like, give some time. Like, do all of us have Skype installed on our systems? Like, if possible. Like, is it possible to install Skype on your systems? Because that will remove this time limitation. Um, that was regarding the files. Uh, can we quickly stop this meeting and join again? I guess it will end in between. Is it fine?
Yeah. We'll join again.